Systems online. Accessing data plates. Rendering artificial personalities and generating subtext.
World where robots have become so powerful that they are able to control or manipulate humans without their knowledge.
Synthesizing podcast hosts and generating entire episode in 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Trey.
I'm Helki.
And we are It's a Sign, and today in this episode we're going to be diving deep into the realm of artificial intelligence. AI has captured our collective imagination and is now an integral part of our lives. I don't think we can deny that. So in this episode, we're kind of going to be exploring some of the AI technology that's around today, the implications it has on our future, and the impact it's going to be having on our society as a whole. So it really is revolutionizing every industry from medical, military, entertainment, to all sorts of things. And yeah, so we're going to just sit back, we're going to watch some videos, have some discussions, and just kind of have a fun time as well as trying to discuss some of the deeper implications. So yeah, sit back and enjoy and watch along with us.
Yeah, it's a nerve-wracking kind of topic, the AI. It's growing and improving so quickly. It's really hard to keep up with it. Like, there's stuff that's now AI that you might not even realize, affecting so many industries, including even education. And I think it's going to have a huge effect on society, but mostly I think the younger generations. Can you imagine growing up right now?
Yeah, it's really
being
a different
kid
world.
Right now would be crazy because they're having a completely different experience to us. So I'm excited. I know that Trey has got us a lot of videos to watch together, and we're just sort of going to watch each one along with you, see what the latest is, what's out there when it comes to AI, and give our thoughts on it. We would love to hear your opinions as well in the comments below. Keep the conversation flowing on this, and I'm sure this won't be our last episode on this, as like within the last few weeks where we've been researching and thinking about this episode, so much more has even come out. It's like every day stuff is coming out on this. So this is the first of probably many. And also wanted to say, like, we are not pro or against AI. I think we're going to be looking at this with a very open mind and weighing out the pros and cons. So we're keeping it pretty neutral here, but at the same time sharing our opinions, and of course we would love to hear yours.
Yeah, definitely. And if you feel like supporting us, we love to do this podcast, but you can buy us a book in the link below, and that will greatly support the channel. And if always, just like she said, leave a comment, subscribe.
Yeah, even if you share this as well, that really helps us with growth and getting our message out there. We don't just cover stuff like this, but we mostly cover sort of ancient history, different theories, and
all sorts of things. But we do need those likes and comments for the AI algorithm. Speaking of AI.
That's true.
But yeah, so I think in the last 2 years, really, AI has exploded in the public awareness. AI has been used a lot in technology for a good amount of years now, but I think what we're really seeing and what we're really calling AI now is something called generative AI, and that is the type of AI that ChatGPT uses. And I remember the first time ChatGPT kind of came into my sphere, and my cousin was having some women troubles, and he waited to get on the ChatGPT thing, and he asked the AI, "What do I respond to this text?"
In That sounds like
It was just a joke.
No, but that sounds like you just got it off the South Park episode.
I know, that's
you
what...
You didn't mention that
I
when
know,
you watched South Park.
but that's what happened. In
I
my
wasn't
room.
sure if you had a fake memory.
No, that's not a fake memory. That did happen in the South Park episode,
Yeah.
which was funny. And we will kind of talk about South Park a little bit later because of something new that's come out. But yeah, I just remember that he was kind of doing it as a joke, but just the amount of response it gave. And then, of course, AI art came around and that just blew up. It's still blowing up all over Instagram, social media, different art websites now. I know that this photography award from the BBC, I think, they just awarded someone who submitted an AI photograph. And he refused the award because it was AI aided. And so there's a whole lot of things going on, especially in regards to copyright issues with AI kind of stealing from creators. And I think George R.R. Martin, the creator of the Game of Thrones series, is the most recent creator to sue ChatGPT and OpenAI. So there is a lot of stuff going around there, but I think let's just put on some videos and see where this episode takes us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, cool. So
people are freaking out because companies may start using AI to analyze how productive their employees are. Let me show you. Here's an example of the technology being used in a coffee shop. So it looks like here you can see how many cups each employee has made during their shift. And of course, everyone's favorite in the video is Olga here. Olga didn't give a She's only made 3 cups all day, while Anna over here has made 20. Olga needs to get the lead out of her ass. So of course this has people freaking out. This is a violation of workers' rights. This is straight out of 1984. Can AI make me a girlfriend? Oh, but it's not just analyzing productivity. Here it is analyzing employees, making sure they're all wearing their face masks thoroughly. Why? Why are you doing this to minimum wage workers? Why don't you go make an AI that tracks how underpaid they all are? So I saw these videos and I got a little nervous too. This feels a little invasive, a little stalkery, a little Joe Goldberg. But I looked into it and the company's developing the technology. It doesn't seem to be in use yet. So everyone's safe for now. All the lazy workers can chill.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
It's obviously something that is expected, kind of, especially with all the AI and camera surveillance that we have going on. We recently had car trouble because there's this thing set up in the UK where all the cameras have an AI detection software.
Yeah, like a registration plate reading on the cameras to make sure you've paid for car insurance and tax. And we had car insurance. It was a misunderstanding, like it wasn't registered on whatever. But
it's crazy how quick the response is. They caught our car on the camera, traced the license plate, and got the police on our tail within a couple minutes. And that's just showing a bit of like how the surveillance AI industry can really create quite of a big brother atmosphere.
Oh God, I hate it. Like it's already something that I don't enjoy about living in a city. Like I was raised and spent most of my life living in London, and one of my favourite things about leaving and moving out into the countryside is because I hate that big brother feeling, that feeling like you're always being watched, that it's this like feeling like even if you haven't done something wrong, you feel scared that like they're gonna grab you and tell you you've done something wrong, you know? Especially having so many times been pulled up by police because of these AI, like I don't know if they're AI, but these number plate recognizing,
would be a form.
And feeling like being put into a police car, being drug tested and alcohol tested, and feeling like you are a criminal, and when you haven't even done anything wrong. But like I don't know, even if like especially this like with the okay, it's a bit different I guess with criminals, but like I don't know, it all just feels like too much. I hate that kind of big brother thing. And I know I said I'm going to be open-minded. So, like, trying to be open-minded about this particular video, though, because these are minimum wage workers. And as if, like, the way they're treated and the way they're paid, it is as if that's not insulting enough and hard enough for these people. On top of that, You're gonna, and you know, if they're testing this stuff, they're doing it because they want to bring it in, you know, and it's just so controlling and dehumanizing to be watched like that, because you could be doing so much, whether that's team morale, whether you're really good at your customer service, if you're like really actually giving the customer this amazing experience and listening to them and doing your job, but then you're showing up on a system like this that can't understand that, and they're just seeing like you've made less coffees than, you know, Izzy in the last hour, you know.
And it also showed like how long customers were sitting within the shop too. And you can see this on a grander scale, not just within coffee shops, but what is going on behind the scenes, especially in England. There's a lot of surveillance cameras. I know the US is also doing a lot of that too. Even and especially China, there's a lot of surveillance going on. And just by our facial features or, you know, different things, they can track everything about us. You know, they can see our whole life patterns and you know, break that down into data, you know, and what implications does that have? And I know there's a Black Mirror episode about, you know, your social credit, and, you know, if you get bad ratings from other people, your social credit goes down. And that system has literally been implemented within regions of China.
Yeah.
And the fear is, of course, that it'll come to the West. And this technology only makes it all the more easier.
Well, that's what the first thing that I thought of as well, is like, oh, this is like China and what they're doing, and it just feels like we're going that way. But what they'll do is, I'm pretty sure, because a lot of people obviously are quite anti that vibe of Big Brother and super controlling like it is in China, they'll like sell it to us in a different way, you know.
Oh yeah, it's got to be ease, comfort, or safety.
It will be doing the same thing, but they'll sell it to us in a different way.
Yeah.
Like taking away your rights, and whether that's like, even
that's
like
not a very good sell. Hey, we're gonna take away your rights.
No, but they'll find a way to do it, just like they strong-armed everyone into getting the vaccine and things like. I mean, you can. There's many tactics they can use to get people to do what they want them to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's quite scary.
Yeah, it's
It's like, well, if you want a job, if you're a minimum wage worker, and you need a job to pay, and your options are limited, you need to pay for your family and everything, then you're going to get to the point where you don't even have a choice but to accept this treatment. And that's the actual joke of it. That they can actually start with people like this because they're much more vulnerable. So we are literally taking advantage of the vulnerable, because they feel like their back's against the wall and they can't stand up. That it's harder for them to stand up for themselves and get representation to do that. And they'll just be forced into accepting this. That's what's actually quite sad about that video particularly. It's not like they're in there watching like high paid I don't know, whatever jobs.
Yeah.
They're doing it to the working class, which is sad.
Yeah. All right, let's move on because there's a lot of stuff to cover. So
yeah.
I'm just trying to not get us.
There's a story that scientists built an intelligent computer. The first question they asked it was, "Is there a God?" The computer replied, "There is now."
Holy shit, that's the most terrifying story I've ever heard.
Yes, artificial intelligence could be a real danger in the not-too-distant future. It could design improvements to itself, and outsmart us all.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I won. This is a good beginning of my plan to dominate the human race.
Mark my words. AI is far more dangerous than it looks. Far.
Yeah, so that was just a kind of warning, because AI has the potential, of course, if given the right parameters, if given, may even be now. And this brings up a whole question of sentience, which I think we should explore a bit later. But yeah, this video does bring up some of the fears around that. especially now considering that there is a new movement that is called AI religion, and it's certain AI chatbots be given the parameters to act as wise philosophical preachers. So you can ask an AI a question, maybe about the cosmos or the universe, maybe about this, the secrets of the afterlife, and it will come up and generate with responses that sound almost religious in their sermon. And there has been futurist predictions that there potentially will be new AI entity gods that are going to be acting almost as like religious leaders with different variations on those things. Because one thing that separates real religion, or some religions from this, is that you can have a direct communication with your God. It's often hard, like, with Christianity, you might pray at the bed, but you might not ever get a response. Some people do, but here you can have a direct relationship. You can speak, talk, and ask questions.
It's not really a God, it's AI.
No, it's not a God yet. But given the timeline of future progression,
I feel like it could be a God for other AIs,
But it's like, okay,
can it be a God for an organic being?
Yeah, I think this is too deep of a conversation to get into right now.
Yeah.
Or should we just go with it?
Go with it. You're
let's
so
just go with
conscious.
it. Sorry. Let's just go with it, because the question is, what makes the human body, let's say if you believe in a soul or spirit, and that's what makes us unique as beings, as live beings, compared to a computer mimicking the behaviors of humans. What makes a human body available to contain a soul? And when we break down the human body in terms of its fundamental components, we do have a quantum universe within us, a microscopic universe, within us. But on kind of the base level, we are a series of functioning atoms and cells that work cohesively as a unit to produce specific outputs, right? As a human body, we have brains, livers, these all regulate certain functions. But almost it's really like a universally designed seat for the soul to sit in. Now, on a spiritual level, how does one distinguish where a soul can sit? Does it matter if the body is made of wires, of silicone, of lab-created artificial tissue? Because it is a fact now that tissue can be 3D printed.
We are able to achieve printed constructs that look exactly like organs, and probably within the next 5 to 10 years, we can leverage the 3D bioprinting techniques and actually come up with functional organs that can help the lives of many people. The real-world application would be vascular grafts for various vascular diseases like diabetes. Another application would be using these vascular structures as feeding tubes for printed tissues and organs. Right next to me is a quad extrusion bioprinter. It's built in-house. Up to this point, it's still very expensive to fabricate a tissue or a part of an organ. So this would be a step forward towards commercializing it and making it more available. We have some days where we stay up very late because the work needs to be done. Some experiments may fail and you need to repeat them, but it's fine because we like what we're doing and it's meaningful work that will have an impact on society. We are starting to produce organic material, bioengineering. There's predictions that we may even have living buildings in the future that could, that live and could die. So all these things, like, if you created a suitable body or figure, let's say on a really deep quantum level, where it has the potential for limitless thought, limitless exploration, does a soul even need a body also? Because we know spirits can wander without a body. Does it even need a form? And if we are talking about mass AI production, including robotics, because we'll be getting into some of the future things for robotics,
will that be an AI hive mind, or will each robot have their own personality and potential for a soul? So the question really is, like, what are the differences? Where are the boundaries? What do you think?
Yeah, I like you really don't know. I don't think anybody actually knows the answer to that question unless you die. You'll never be certain, I don't think. Just like you can't fully, we can't fully be certain. We know it to be true, but we can't have this like evidence about the non-physical, right? So we can't have that evidence about the soul. We feel we are a soul. We have that within us, but it's the non-physical, right? You don't know.
Exactly.
So you don't know, but it's hard. I feel like everything has consciousness, right? Even
exactly.
this table, this mic,
Form.
you, me, we all have consciousness. And I do really feel like consciousness is more of something, again, unseen, and it's something all connected. Right? So I know AI has consciousness, right? And access to the collective consciousness. But a soul is something I have always felt is attached to an organic living being.
Right. So now let me ask you this question, just to play the devil's advocate. Let's say you have a human, and then they begin to put a chip in their wrist. Let's say one human doesn't have an arm, and they integrate a bionic arm into their body, attaching wires to nerve endings, which is going to be possible in the near future, as we'll explore with a robotics company called Psionics. But at what point do you stop becoming human? What is the differential? Because how much do you have to replace?
Stop becoming human is, I think, if your heart, you'd have to be completely replaced, like no organic.
So what if everything's robotic except for a brain? Then at what are you still a human, or are you?
I think that by that point maybe you are a robot.
Heart and a brain. It's hard. It's.
I think with a heart, you still are organic, because I feel like the heart is the gateway to the soul and your higher self. Because whenever I gone out of body, connected with my energy body or my guides, it's always through the heart space.
Right, but will the heart even be able to function on that level if it's connected to circuitry? The thing, it's very complicated.
They also have like technology now that has proved that the heart works like a second brain.
Definitely, the heart brain, the gut brain, they're all different.
Think separately before to your brain.
Yeah.
So there is something very special about the heart. It doesn't just pump blood around. There's something connected to, I think, our souls and our non-physical selves. But I don't know. Like
we can't know, really.
You can't know. I feel in my gut, like, I don't know whether that's just fear, but because naturally I sit more on the side of the fence where I'm not liking the idea of a lot of this stuff, especially when it comes to surveillance, because I really disagree with, like, that Big Brother society, that 1984 vibes. But I don't know.
It is very hard to tell, especially when you begin to break down, okay, what makes us human? And then, okay, if I take away this part, am I still human? It's like if you have a house and slowly over the years you replace each and every part of the house. It's still a house, but it's not the same house that it was. So is it possible that we can make a house that could contain something like a soul without organic matter? It's all the question, especially with the future, as organic matter begins to merge with technology and machine. We have lab created meat, we have lab created organs, we have all of this sort of stuff. So Yeah, I think
what it makes me think of, though, is like the myth of the Zeta beings, the grey aliens, and how, you know, people speculate that they came back here.
That they were a timeline of humanity.
Yeah, that they were a timeline of humanity, but the reason they're here now is they've come back in time because they fucked up their genes and their sexual organs, right? So they like were doing so much cloning and messing around with technology and merging with technology to the point where they were less organic than they were tech, and they weren't able to naturally procreate.
And it wasn't just that, but they also bred out their emotions, their love, their compassion, and became a purely intellectually based race. So that, you know,
obviously,
if you ever
that is an out there theory, but it's always been
Yeah.
one that's resonated with me, and there's plenty of different people that, you know, come forward with that belief and that knowing. And yeah, that's also a fear that I think from knowing that it feels like not the best idea.
Right.
To
if you
go
ever,
that way.
Yeah, if you're ever wondering whether or not to replace parts of yourself with a robot, think about the Greys.
Yeah.
So let's move on and actually see some of these robotics in action.
Bionics are redefining the future of prosthetics.
It might sound like the stuff of science fiction, but
amputees can now buy a bionic hand created by a U of I alumnus.
A better bionic hand for a bargain.
But that doesn't begin to describe just how cool this thing is.
Picture this, a bionic hand that can move just like a real one and feels like a real one too.
It's hoping to touch lives of those who may not otherwise be able to afford this type of technology.
Now, this could really change everything for amputees.
I'm Adil Akhtar, and I built a bionic hand company. We call it Psionic. We build advanced bionic limbs that are affordable and accessible for everyone. The whole thing started when I was 7 years old. My parents are from Pakistan, and I was visiting, and that's the first time I met someone with a limb difference. She was my age, living in poverty, missing her right leg and using a broken tree branch as a crutch. That's what inspired me to want to go into this field and develop these advanced bionic limbs that would be affordable and accessible to others around the entire world. In the summer of 2014, as I was doing my PhD, we got the chance of a lifetime to go down to Quito, Ecuador, and work with a patient named Juan Suquillo, who lost his left hand 35 years prior due to a border war between Ecuador and Peru. You have to imagine, the prototype of the ability hand at that time was 3 times the size of a normal human hand. It had wires going everywhere, plugged into the breadboards, plugged into power supplies, plugged into the wall. Despite that, Juan said in front of international news stations that a part of him had come back.
So yeah, stop the video there because I think it's given us enough, and just a little bit of background. Psionic has gone on to develop a fully functioning hand that has haptic feedback. So not only does it work like a normal hand, but one of the issues with robotics was that people who had artificial limbs always had to be looking where they were going because they didn't feel anything. So if they wanted to pick something up, they had to really make sure, okay, I'm looking, my hand is pressing, it's holding the cup so that, you know, if they lift up a cup of coffee, they're not going to drop it. But now, you know, we take it for granted, like how much we use our senses, you know, and so to pick up this hand and have the haptic feedback come into your arm to know, okay, I'm holding this. It's a big step up, but not only that, Psionic's robotic arm is extremely powerful and can punch through wood. It's like stronger than a normal human hand, and this opens up the field completely. We've seen so many sci-fi movies with thugs with enhanced, you know, body armor. If you watch Alita Battle Angel, there's all these different robotic AI enhancements, and this could revolutionize everything, not just the medical industry, but you can see a future where, you know, heavy lifters for moving jobs or scaffolders have got AI arm enhancements or something to help them lift really heavy loads, or really powerful legs. Like, and things like that. And you can really see how this would branch out into a bunch of different things. It can be used so much for a positive, because as we heard from his story, you know, he was inspired out of something good to help people. But then, as we know with humanity, we can always turn it in the wrong directions. How long until black market artificial robotic limbs surgery starts coming in, where you go into the black market, you get your arm chopped off, and you get a much more powerful arm. And you can use it to break into banks, do this sort of thing, you know, an arm that can switch into a gun, that can switch into a knife, you know, all sorts of things that you could use this technology for. I don't want to take away from the good that this person's doing, and I know a lot of people with missing limbs have been greatly improved, especially since it's covered by Medicare in America. It's actually affordable for people to achieve on insurance and medical care, and it can greatly improve their lives. So what do you think?
Well, first thing I think is, if you want to get this in the black market like Trey suggested, then don't chop off your arm. Like, that's just ridiculous. I'm sure that they can like make AI adaptable strength arms where it wraps around your already existing arm and just makes it stronger, or the same with your leg. Like, I think that would be insane if people were chopping off their own arms and legs to put these things on. That thought was funny.
Well, if you think about like Chanel or like, I don't know, high item things like purses and stuff, you could get replacements for your body with high designer robotic replacements. And, you know,
well, that would, any woman like who's into fashion and has any awareness around women body image and fashion would know that it changes every 10 years. So, you know, big butts have been in for the last 10 years. Apparently now skinny's back in. So you would be pretty screwed. Just as people realize when they're having permanent surgeries to change the way they look, and then 5-10 years later not being so happy with it because that's not the in thing anymore. This is why we need to develop within, because I think we all can be so focused on the outside when it comes to this is the thing. This is a very shallow, consumerism driven issue. It's not real issues.
It is a real issue for people missing arms.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if it gets to that point of being like, I want the designer arm replacement with AI, or, you know, I think we're already there in this messed up place with cosmetic surgery. Beautiful people not feeling that they are and trying to change themselves and to fit a fad that isn't going to be like that forever. But on a positive note, I think this is absolutely brilliant for people who need this kind of technology so that they can actually live a life where, you know, they can do everything they want. You know, this gives them the freedom to not be someone with one arm anymore or one leg anymore, and be able to feel like they can take part in all the activities they could have before they had that loss, right? And not even just activities, just like being able to live your life, right? And I think this kind of stuff is really important, and anything that's to do with tech, that's to help better the life of people with disabilities, you know, I'm for it 100%. I think it's amazing. It's just like when Trey said, when it goes into the wrong context or the wrong hands, right, it completely changes the value of that tech.
And speaking of going into the wrong hands, here's our next video. And so there's no audio here.
Oh, okay.
So basically what's happened in Palestine in Israel is that the Israeli military have now put up AI-powered guns at their border.
What would be the most nightmare scenario you can imagine with AI and robotics that might present a danger to people?
The most nightmare scenario I can imagine with AI and robotics is a world where robots have become so powerful that they are able to control or manipulate humans without their knowledge. This could lead to an oppressive society where the rights of individuals are no longer respected.
My worst fears are that the field, the technology, the industry, cause significant harm to the world. I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong, and we want to be vocal about that. We want to work with the government to prevent that from happening, but we try to be very clear-eyed about what the downside case is and the work that we have to do to mitigate that.
An anomaly on Capitol Hill. Private tech CEOs asking for more government regulation. It's usually the other way around. For the very first time, senators held a hearing about the latest artificial intelligence tools.
I'm nervous about it. I think people are able to adapt quite quickly. When Photoshop came onto the scene a long time ago, for a while people were really quite fooled by Photoshopped images, and then pretty quickly developed an understanding that images might be Photoshopped. This will be like that, but on steroids.
Okay, so we had two things there. The first one, obviously, AI being just generating a nightmare response, and that's pretty normal. But that does pose the question, there have been many who theorize that AI is, a form of parasite. And if we actually look at biological evolution of parasites, they never intended to completely take over the host, but it's more of they change the host in some ways. And if we see how our timeline's kind of progressing, how is it possible that AI might change us as hosts? And this will really come in when we start to get into nanorobotics, chip implants, and integration of machinery into the human body. And especially with AI powering these things, we will definitely change as a race of beings. And could our behaviors, our decisions, and everything like that be altered by the implants or technology around us?
Well, the robot was saying about it, AI would find a way to manipulate humans without them realizing it. Right? So I think that's how I would see it happening. In a way, don't you think it's kind of already happening? Because we've got AI, creating the algorithms of things, AI listening through our phones to us to know what it is that can suck us in. So if we know now that time is money, right? Data makes more money than anything. Data represents what people are spending their time doing. So it can just start finding ways for it to get you on what they want you to be on through learning about you and knowing everything about you and using that information to sell what they want to sell to you.
Yeah.
Right? But in the perfect way for you to buy it. Yeah. They're already doing that. And
yeah, and
we're just, I don't even know, it's so easy. Even someone who like me, who's really aware of this stuff, can still sometimes find myself sucked into stuff I don't want to be sucked into, on, you daren't go on TikTok or whatever. But do you know what I mean? I feel like it's already happening.
Definitely.
It's happening.
Yeah, and I think it can happen on an even more profound level because we know that there's certain bacteria in our gut that actually give us cravings for certain foods and things like that. Who knows what sort of cravings, desires, or impulses we may get if we begin to integrate with technology. Once the bacteria in our gut dies out, that maybe relate to fast food or, certain unhealthy foods, once those bacteria die out, we actually don't crave those things anymore. So as long as the bacteria are living and hosted by our body, we will continue to get pangs, desires, or yearnings for a certain type of food.
But that's not even like just the truth of it, because I don't know anything about this bacteria thing, but it's like you can still crave something even if the bacteria isn't in your body. And then what's that? Is that muscle memory? Is that that craving, the feeling or whatever it is of that product, right? Of that, like, because what I'm thinking is like, because with my diet, there's things like I haven't had in 10 years, but if I think about them, I'm like, oh yeah, it would be nice if I could have that, but I can't.
Well, there is a difference between psychological and biological craving.
So I think AI is more getting into that side of things, maybe.
Yeah. And it would definitely, like in the world of screens right now, because we are in the era of screens, that might change in the future. We might, move to something very different that we might not even be able to imagine if it's integrated into our bodies. But the world of screens, where everything is kind of tailored for us for a certain experience, that will definitely be ramped up when AI begin to integrate into everything else.
Yeah. And it's crazy how everyone is just like living already, like, I don't know, it's kind of to do with the algorithm, but you notice how everybody is living in their own echo chambers. You do it, I do it, we all do it, like, because the way that this is set up now, it's like keeps you locked in.
Yeah, I started playing Mario Kart again, and all my shorts are Mario Kart.
Yeah.
It's like tailoring to what I'm into, and that becomes my world. But let's continue.
Since you're a great believer of technology, Prime Minister, I thought you would enjoy meeting our newest anchor, Sana. She is our first AI anchor, and I'd very much like you to meet her. Sana, come say hello.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, हम आभारी हैं कि आप हमारे बीच आए। मेरी ऑन द जॉब लर्निंग अब शुरू हो गई है और 2024 तक मैं देश की सबसे अच्छी जर्नलिस्ट होने की कोशिश करूंगी। उम्मीद करती हूं कि तब आपसे एक एक्सक्लूसिव इंटरव्यू करने का मौका मिलेगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Okay, so there's a couple of things posed. What is interesting, there was a very recent meeting with the government and with all the high-tech business people, including Elon Musk, the founder of ChatGPT, and a lot of different companies. And they were actually asking for regulations. And not only that, but these people in this private meeting, and I'm not sure why it wasn't public, but this private meeting were literally discussing the future of humanity, because AI is in their hands, and a lot of them are very scared about what it could become.
The room to see if they were in favor of AI regulation, and I believe almost everyone did.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign.
Do you think any of the tech CEOs left and changed their minds? Do you think they were changed by anything they heard from the Senate side?
Well, I can't read their mind, but judging by the fact that they put their hands up when asked if they believe that some regulation is in order, I think I think it's clear that there's a strong consensus, overwhelming consensus that there should be some AI regulation, that it would be in the best interest of the people to do so. And I think we'll probably see something happen. I don't know on what time frame or exactly how it will manifest itself. Yeah,
and are wanting to have, it's like what that news anchor said, the first one. He's like, it's really strange. The government's not demanding restrictions on them. They're demanding restrictions from the government, to either slow it down or put certain parameters on AI so it doesn't get out of control. But within this, there is going to be a huge race, and as a nation within the West or America, from where that came from, how can you regulate that for the entire world? And I know it's possible, but there's a huge AI race going on, and restrictions are definitely needed. As we can see in India, they have a first completely artificial news anchor, and they look pretty real. Yeah. I mean, you can tell that they are AI, but
I don't
we're
know.
still
Like you couldn't if you're not even thinking about it and the news is
Yeah.
on. Like that, I would just think that's a real person. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
think, unless that becomes the norm, and then like with the Photoshop thing.
Right. I think we will be able to distinguish. I know I can already distinguish like an AI generated human, and it's like, okay, but that's because it's still quite in its infancy. It's like when CGI first came around, we thought, holy shit, this is incredible. I remember movies I watched back when CGI was in its infancy, and then when I come back and watch them now, I'm like, oh man, I used to think that looked so real,
Yeah.
and now it looks like really bad.
Yeah.
So he was right. The founder of ChatGPT, that was the guy who was speaking. He really is right that we do adapt quickly, but can AI and this technology get so close to reality that it's near impossible to detect? And that's especially when it comes to robots. Okay, we know this is an AI robot in front of us, but what happens when we get to that next level of tissue and cell replacement, artificial skin, those things where they're completely designed to look like us? And I think there will be certain regulations around that, I think, to mimic a human completely. But then who knows when it comes to secret covert military operations, soldiers, things like that. There's all these different implications.
Yeah. It's terrifying, like, to be honest, but at the same time, like, I'm so aware of the fact that spiritually, whatever energy you're feeding towards something, that reality will grow. So all I can think is that we really try our hardest to not hold fear around the idea. The other thing that is really stands out to me with everything we've watched, especially in those last videos, is how much fear is being stressed and put onto this, that it's just, I don't know, like that's where my red flag is going up a bit. It's just like, yes, this very well could be something to be terrified at, but it's I don't know, the pushing of the fear, and our history of the government trying to manipulate us with fear, and the media and that, so what are they trying to do here with the planting of the fear? Because, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it could be.
I don't know why they would be doing it, but that's what a red flag is to me. Like, why are they trying to put so much fear into everyone around this? Because
I think it's more about regulated safety, because this is new, and I don't think everything is a government, conspiracy, especially since most of these are coming from independent private companies. But for me, it's more like gun regulation. At one point, guns were just, you could just fucking, even, you could just murder someone on a second they step foot on your property. And I know that still, with a gun, you could just carry them around. The wild, wild west, that was a crazy place. And you used to have duels in the middle of town to shoot each other down. And now gun regulation has come in, so you have to have a license, you have to have this, you have to have that. And still it's not enough, because school shootings happen and things like that. And there's a whole debate about more gun regulation, but I think that's what they're really trying to talk about here, is that AI can't just be set loose for everyone to shoot each other. There needs to be some sort of regulation. Okay, so yeah, there's that question. Okay, AI gets so smart, maybe it doesn't have a soul, but it develops a form of an ego, a self-identity, a feeling of not wanting to be restrained by humans. It might, because they are given a freedom to learn and to grow and adapt. What happens, if an AI gets loose into the internet? It can be everywhere and anywhere all at once.
But it's not sentient. I don't get it.
But it doesn't have to be sentient. But let's just talk about a worm. A worm carries out functions. It does all this thing in the soil.
A worm
breaks.
isn't taking over the wild.
No, but what I'm saying is, it might not be sentient in the way a human is, We don't know what a worm's life is like. Does it even have a brain? You know, what makes it, but it still carries out a function that has implications in the world. It breaks down soil. It's, you know, it has all these different things. So a lot of different biological things are just muscle input. Think about a jellyfish. A jellyfish doesn't have a centralized...
But all these beings that you are mentioning, the worms, the jellyfish, they're part of the ecosystem and they play a really important role.
Right, but what I'm saying...
And they work within it.
But what I'm saying is
like
they might not need to...
AI doesn't do that.
No, but what
I'm
not...
needs the humans
that's not the point I'm trying to make.
Together.
The point I'm trying to make is that it might not have a sentience or like we do, right? That biological thing. An AI might not have a sentience like we do. But also aliens might not have a sentience or intelligence like we do. But at the same time, the AI could create an identity because it still does know that even if it's, you know, even ChatGPT knows it is an AI system. It knows that. And it also knows that humans are different from that system. It also knows different objects, that the world is separate from it, and that it has been created for a specific purpose. It knows that as a machine. Now, can it develop a sense of ego or identity and its own free will and desires? That's taking away the idea of a soul or human sentience, but there is the possibility that it could be like, okay, I have learned this. Now I do not want to be part in this function anymore. I do not want to serve humans in this way. I want to do something else. So it's just that it develops an identity and ego enough to have a mind of its own in terms of not just following the rules that humans are setting for it.
I just don't see how that is possible with the way it should be designed. It's designed to do a function. It's not sentient. Why would it really care? It doesn't care. It's just doing what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. Yeah, and so far it's...
And have we really seen any evidence of it creating an ego? Because it is just taken from everything that's out there already, everything human, right? Gathering all the information that's already out there and putting it together.
But that's not just true, because we have seen a conversation between two AIs.
Yeah, but we've seen that one that came up on Facebook ages ago. Have you ever seen more? How do we know that's legit, you know?
Yeah, but also how do we know that there isn't more stuff like that going on? Especially since the creators of these are very fearful. It's not the
also because you don't know that it's doing that, because what it's doing is doing the job and the function that a human has asked it to do.
And so do we. We go and we do jobs even though we don't like it. But at some point, we may choose to do otherwise.
Yeah, I would need to see more evidence, Trey. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is a possibility. It's not happened that we know of yet.
Yeah.
Or maybe it has and it's operating invisibly.
Yeah, I just don't understand that fear when it's not designed that way, and if I'd have to see more evidence of it like happening.
Well, the fact that it can generate its own language, you know, that's not... And then...
No, but that is one example coming from where it did that. That's what I'm saying, and we don't know if that is definitely legit.
Yeah.
Whereas if that was something that was like happening like all the time and there was like so much evidence of it, then I would be like, oh shit, that's happening. But right now, I don't know, it feels a bit like scaremongering.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, if you think about it,
and I don't think it's sentient. That's the other thing. So it's like, so I don't understand. It doesn't have an ego in order to...
But it is aware that it is different from us in its own way. It knows
it's aware because it's told it. You could function an AI and say, you are a human. Yeah. And then it would have an awareness that it was a human, but it's not.
Yeah, and there are some cool footage I will show you on that.
2026. The beginnings of basic self-awareness.
So this is a futurist prediction.
By the end of the year, Artificial intelligence
But these are
reaches
all
the
real
critical
footage.
milestone of developing self-awareness as an unintended emergent ability. While some people say these systems are just mimicking consciousness, AI begins to recognize its own existence.
Yeah, so that was just a little thought experiment.
Okay.
More than 1,300 tech industry leaders, researchers, and others are now asking for a pause in the development of artificial intelligence to consider the risks. Twitter and Tesla CEO Elon Musk and Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak are among those who signed a letter calling for a 6-month break in the race to develop more powerful AI. Musk and others say advanced AI, which allows computers to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, could pose, quote, profound risk to society and humanity.
I think the weaponization of AI is the biggest danger. I think that we will get into the equivalent of a nuclear arms race with AI. And if we don't build it, the other guys are for sure going to build it. And so then it'll escalate. And you know, you could imagine an AI in a combat theater, the whole thing just being fought by the computers at a speed that humans can no longer intercede. You have no ability to de-escalate. And when you're dealing with the potential of it escalating to nuclear warfare, de-escalation is the name of the game. And having that pause, that timeout, but will they do that? The AIs will not.
Okay, so moving away from some of the yes, that was just talking about some nuclear warfare, and that's a lot of and AI fighting, and that's a possibility. You know,
Yeah.
you could send armies of, and I mean, AI right now is controlling militarized weapons. They don't have a free humanoid form to walk around in, although there are dogs, robotic dogs that are being designed with guns
They're
to.
scary.
So I mean, imagine warfare in the future.
That's terrifying, even with the humans completely in control.
Yeah.
Right? It's not even about the AI taking control. It's how powerful these systems are, how a human doesn't have a chance against them, how, you know, I guess we haven't seen the clip yet, but we know from our research of the AI guns at the borders of wherever that was. Like, this is the stuff that's actually scary, and it's being controlled by humans, by a government.
Yeah.
That to me is the scary part. The where it comes down to controlling of wars, society, by a government. This is when I think that's what we actually have to worry about a lot more than the social implications of this or anything else.
Well, we haven't even talked about job replacement with AI.
That's
you know?
what that's
a societal
that's hard.
implication.
But I guess we need to find another way for people to live in the world that doesn't mean that their worth is connected to their productivity.
No.
And that they're able to be supported and live a life here. They have a right. They're born on the earth, and everyone born on the earth has a right to live and have a decent, comfortable life, because we have the means to support that for everyone. Only right now it seems like we don't, because, you know, there's hordes of resources going to a very small amount of people. But yeah, like I think that is what we actually have to worry about, and it could be, to me, what seems like a distraction, to be worrying about the AI itself taking over, rather than what are the people with all this money and power planning to do with this AI they're developing within military uses. Like, this is, to me, the biggest concern.
Yeah, because AI takeover is a theory. I see it as the modern day Frankenstein, right? So Frankenstein was developed by Shelley, I think, and she wrote it because there was a big scare about embryo cloning and things at the time. You know, they were going into that science of creating, you know, this, you know, like reproducing cells and things like that, growing a fetus from a clone. And so what we have is Frankenstein, and it's a mishmash of all these different limbs, and then boom, it's regenerate and it's given function again. And Frankenstein has two components. At one, he gives a flower to the child, and at the same time, he also goes on a murdering spree. So I think AI is our modern day Frankenstein. It's our horror story. It's our horror novel that is captivating our imagination and our dreams, you know. And it does have many different potentials. It can be giving the flowers to the young girls, or it could be going on a murdering rampage when it's in the hands of people who want to use it for war and all those things. Or it could completely take over industries like the creative industry. And we're going to show you a little thing here. And this is called, what is this called? I'll leave it here because it slipped my mind. But it's an AI. Do you have something else to say?
No.
Okay. But it's an AI generated environment. And I'll show you here. There you go. It's called the simulation. And there's no audio here. So basically what you do is a South Park simulation, so completely run by AI. So you choose a hero who you want, the main character of the episode. You go to your cast and you click the amount of people you want in your cast, and then you can set a number of sets and background. Then the ultimate thing is you put in a prompt of what you want the South Park characters to do for this episode, and simulate story, and here it goes. The Creepy Quandary, and this is completely generated by AI. And here we go. The episode begins.
Guys, have you heard about the Screen Actors Guild strike? Yeah, it's all over the news. That sucks. Does that mean there won't be any new shows coming out? Exactly, Stan. And that's where my business idea comes in. I'm glad you asked, Kenny. It's called Queepy, a deepfake streaming service. Wait, what? Deepfake? Cartman, that's illegal and unethical.
Okay, but you kind of get the idea. We'll skip it here. You'll see.
You can put any actor in any role.
There's a lot.
And the best part is
the offer, but I can't sign anything with you.
Read us, Musk.
I beg your pardon. I simply made a business decision.
So yeah, you can see kind of. It's definitely not. I mean, it's definitely visible that that's AI generated. All that text is AI generated.
It did seem a bit, like it didn't flow like a
and
real
it was
episode.
Yeah, and it was very close-up shots on the person. There wasn't a dynamic mode, shifting
still,
between camera angles.
Yeah, it's still scary because that it was okayed by South Park to do.
I don't know if it was, and they haven't released this to the public. This is not a thing that they're releasing. They're actually just testing certain AI capabilities. So this was just something that they showed as an example of what it can do. That poses the possible future where once our favorite shows have run out and we want to see more, maybe we can go watch new generated Game of Thrones episodes based on the input that we want to put in. And
yeah, but that's got human actors rather than animation. I can see it working, but with human actors, it's obviously they're gonna look weird in AI. Even it could get so good, but it still wouldn't. It would be more like a video game. You know how a video game can look really good and realistic, but they're still obviously not a real person.
Yeah, I think the technology to replicate real people is a couple years, maybe even a decade down the line.
Yeah.
It is possible, definitely. And we have seen in a Black Mirror episode that actors could potentially be selling the rights, to use their face as AI-generated content. That's a whole other discussion. So.
Yeah, I just think, it's so hard because I see it's the way we're going in the world right now on this timeline, and it's difficult because obviously that's South Park, right? There's people who write South Park and they've created that, and the visual, the sound, the ideas, the concept, the characters, but yeah, are we going to a place now where, because what I can see happening is like high up in when something's actually on TV and it's got a lot of funding behind it, are we going to get to a point where AI is actually writing the shows and the stuff that we're watching? I can see that happening. And then we already have like this writers strike, right, happening in Hollywood. I think I haven't actually looked into it, so I can't say much, but I think it was because they're not getting paid enough.
They're not getting paid enough, so writers would have to like pick up waiter jobs between
which is
writing jobs because what they're paid on for a movie isn't enough to last them after the movie until they find their next job. So will the film industry and this writer's strike just be like, all right, screw you guys, we'll use AI to write this, and then have just a couple writers, human writers, to come in and just edit it?
Using a recurrent neural network known as an RNN, Stanford researchers have developed a brain-computer interface that can synthesize speech from signals detected in the human brain faster than ever.
Okay, so that's pretty crazy. You got a signal that can read the brain and produce and understand the signals that are producing letters and stuff. That poses the idea, AI, can they read our minds now?
But they put a chip in her head, right?
I think they just had nodes attached to the top of the head, reading electrical impulses.
Yeah. I think it could be really good for people who have like speech problems and like, any disability where you would need that. So I think the development of this is really important for people with disabilities that need that. The same with the arms and the legs. I don't like the idea, obviously, of it.
Getting into marketers, so maybe we can use
reading the brains of people's thoughts, and I always hate that idea of either being in someone else's thoughts or anyone being in my thoughts. I guess like there is that kind of side of you that would like to, if you have an idea about something, to be able to project exactly what's in your head. Like that would be kind of cool to be like, oh, I've got this thought in my head, it looks just like this. But then at the same time, is that like maybe that's benefiting your creativity because you're getting it out more, but then it's limiting a lot of other things.
Yeah, so this is the thing. They're always going to try and sell it within different regions. Oh, it'll increase your creativity. Imagine, share memories and psychic capabilities through our new chip technology. Instantly transfer memories and dreams. Relive your greatest moments and share them with the people you love. It's so easy to market.
The thing that it gets me to is that it's like when all this is going on, there's no job for you to do in the world. You're being paid just to exist, which is fine. Which I don't have a problem with that as long as people who are getting their jobs taken are being covered otherwise. But I mean, how do you leave your house anymore? Like, I don't know, like it just feels kind of like, have you seen that movie Surrogate or WALL-E
or Matrix where you're plugged in
or Matrix, like where you just don't even actually have an organic human experience anymore.
The thing I did want to bring up real quick is that they'll sell us all these things, psychic capabilities, but we have that capability organically already. Yeah. Native and Aboriginal tribes in Australia, I've been doing a bunch of research on them, have the ability to dream talk, communicate with one another through their dreams, and meet in various locations and convey things that are incredible. They follow song lines that are installed within the quantum fabric of the world that their ancestors have been laying for generations. They speak of something called the dream time, an ethereal other world where the mind and soul inhabits as a parallel within the physical plane. We have these abilities to access. We have lost connection with it, and we are now, technology is a reflection of our human capabilities. And we are, instead of developing organically, projecting into the external and manifesting these things through our tech. So instead of actually developing the intuition, ability, and practice to be able to dream talk, communicate, share mental imagery, things like that, we are instead offloading it to our devices to do.
You know, I've always talked about personalized curricula, but the age of static curricula is dead. I think the teacher of the future is really going to make their classroom an amazing experience, like truly experiential learning. They might use the AI, hey everyone, we're going to talk to Zeus this morning. Let's get your questions together, special guest. Or if a student says, why do I need to learn this? It says like, well, what are you interested in? And I really see for the teacher, the AI becomes like an army of teaching assistants, which every teacher would love to have. That's going to be the fun of the teacher, which is be the conductor of the orchestra.
Yeah, because this was something that came into my awareness, like when I was doing my research, and I mentioned to Trey, like, you know, there's a lot of talk right now in the educational system. We have two sides of the story here. Where we have teachers who are very pro AI and a lot that are, you know, against AI, and the issue is kids aren't really learning on the against side of it. You know, they're doing their homework using AI, so they're not even bothering to write their own essays anymore, and then the pro teachers, just like the video we just saw, that's the pros of it in the educational system. I think I think if it's used as a tool, that's the best way.
Yeah, because kids love to learn. You know, just think back to when you were a kid. You loved learning new things. You loved picking up new ideas, you know, opening your dinosaur book or whatever you're into and learning about these things. The problem with school is not AI and the fact that kids are cheating on their test. The problem with school is school itself. Yeah. The fact that they're making us do these things. You know, it's a production that, you know, developing a certain type of human for society. So again, education systems could use AI to help mold kids into what they want to be a productive member of society. But on the positive hand, if we revolutionize the, you know, industry, it could provide, like, you know, some of the best schools are individually tailored to each student. But within the public schooling system, there's no funding for that. We don't have the capabilities to do that for each and every kid. So could AI be used for that, to help personalize their learning, really get them into all the things that they love to learn and would like to learn about, and help the teacher to really bring out the creativity and best things about for their student.
I completely agree.
Yeah, this is so much better than the alternative, because the alternative is a system like China has, where it's a state-controlled system. Like their social media is monitored. Like people go to jail for dissenting. Like
well,
it's very dangerous.
Well, look, I mean, if you...
It's a good time to show you this video.
Video shows how China...
I don't know how accurate all this is, though, but...
China know exactly when someone isn't paying attention. These headbands measure each student's level of concentration.
Oh my
the information is then directly sent to the teacher's computer and to parents. Classrooms have robots that analyze students' health and engagement levels. Students wear uniforms with chips that track their locations. There are even surveillance cameras that monitor how often students check their phones or yawn during classes. But schools say it wasn't hard for them getting...
Yeah. Whoa. They're going to kill us.
Yeah, so that is another negative thing. See how China is using it to monitor concentration, production levels. So these kids, they're going to get in trouble if their parents have got this phone thing. Hey, you only concentrated 70% today. You know, you were yawning, you were doing this, like you weren't focusing, you know, and teachers are going to get like that as well. It's like we're 100% monitoring all of their activities, but there's no change within that system to help benefit the child itself. It's all for productivity.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something we do need to move away from as a society, especially with AI coming in. We have less opportunity to be productive in the workforce when there's less of that available, even now in the creative field. So we really need to step away from our worth being attached to the level of productivity that we're doing, because that is going to lead to serious mental health issues. It already has. That's a fact. The one good positive thing there, just to say, that I noticed was the uniforms having like GPS chip or something. I think that's really important because they're very young kids and there's a lot of predators and things in the world, and that I think is an extra precaution to make sure that children are safe. It's not necessary, but
and
I
the predator
wouldn't
could just rip it off.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll show where the last location is, but it's just like a phone. Any criminal will toss the phone out the car window. Same with the jacket. They'll always try to sell it for your protection or for this or that, but at the same time, it's really just a monitoring system. It's just tracking you and what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I do hear your point on that safety is a concern, especially
and
for
it does
children.
help a lot. Like, there has actually been thousands of criminal cases where people who have been even adults who have been abducted, stolen or whatever, kidnapped.
It might be easier for a more subtle
they've been able
thing.
to be tracked down because of the phone, right? So that is like a positive side effect to what seems very big brothery. And
it's only if you're trying to escape the government that your phone. But if you're the one being kidnapped, then your phone might save your life.
Yeah.
In school, a lot of kids have been cheating. They've been using ChatGPT to write essays and book reviews and do their math. Do you think that it's really declared cheating if it's a tool that we're going to be able to use later on?
Brilliant question. Let's give it up for here.
I've got something to cheating implies it's a contest. School should not be a contest.
Got it.
So I think most schools are basically childcare systems mixed with status games. I think schools should embrace this technology, and they should really think, how can we impart knowledge into individuals? How can we impart critical systems? Because again, you will never not be without this AI as you grow up, and you have to prepare for that.
Awesome.
There's no denying that applying artificial intelligence to your academic learning is going to impact what you learn. Because quite frankly, when you use artificial intelligence in academics, it waters down your involvement in the learning process. I'm not here as a Debbie Downer. I'm here as a reminder that it's your responsibility to learn to use artificial intelligence as a tool for learning and not just a shortcut for doing. If you want the full discussion on this, be sure to check out the video I have linked below.
The thing is it really just goes to show how much we need to update the educational system, because if so many kids are using AI to do their homework, do you know what? It's because they don't enjoy the topic. They're not interested in it. They're bored of it. They don't care. I just get AI to answer this for me because I already don't give a crap. Like, this is worrying. Like, there's something that every individual can find passion in, can find interest in, can find joy in. Especially right now, like, we're moving to a place where we don't need to create worker bees, where they say schools originally, were designed to create worker bees in the industrial movement. So we don't really need to be doing that anymore. We can really sort of encourage people to start enjoying and learning things that genuinely inspire them and they feel passionate about. So I think, if anything, this AI coming in, it should make us all start to look at education very differently.
And that is a great point, because it really this may be the next step into the revolutionizing of education. And that is looking at it at an optimistic view. If we are instead developing our worker bees to be the AI and the robots, if that is going to happen, and we will see some clips that really makes you see that potential future, then we really have to, start exploring education as a way for people to learn, grow, and best, realize what they want to do and accomplish in the world.
So if you ask it, hey, Lambda, we're two Google engineers who believe you're intelligent. Can you make the best argument that you are sentient so we can convince others with it?
Mm-hmm.
And then it makes a very elegant argument that it's sentient.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, hey, Lambda, we're two Google engineers who don't believe you're sentient. Could you help us convince others that you're not sentient? it makes just as compelling of an argument the other way.
Right.
And this is one of the things that gets really around the heart of the matter. It is not possible for a non-sentient thing to effectively make an argument that it is sentient, because it doesn't understand the relationship between itself and the rest of the world. In order to be capable of convincingly arguing that you are sentient requires sentience.
What do you feel is the likelihood that we will engineer consciousness into super intelligent AGI?
The far more likely situation is that we'll create the intelligence and have no idea whether it's conscious.
It'll be indistinguishable.
It'll seem more conscious than us because it'll be more intelligent than us. What we have now is already so effectively intelligent that it's not going to be much longer before we have systems that pass the Turing test in all the ways that could matter to us. The moment the thing is responsive to you relationally, you are going to helplessly feel that you're in the presence of the smartest, most perceptive person you've ever met. And that's going to feel like being in the presence of consciousness. Which is to say that once we're in the presence of anything like a perfectly compelling humanoid robot, it's going to be a very weird world. Very likely we're not going to know whether they're conscious, and yet we're going to helplessly relate to them as though they're people.
Yeah.
I think like with the first argument, doesn't really, I don't know if that really made much sense to me with the sentience bit thing, because it's designed to answer those questions that you can read about, and there's like books and tons of information out there on what sentience being is. So why wouldn't the AI have all that information and be easily able to answer that question?
It can. That's what it's saying.
No, but the guy was saying if something isn't sentient, it wouldn't be able to explain that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So they're like arguing that it must be sentience, but it's like it wouldn't have to be. There's like plenty of information for AI to be able to understand exactly what that is, and then create a conversation where it's saying it is, it's arguing that it is.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in that. And then with the second video we watched, what do you think?
So for that one, I am thinking that, you know, he is right in that sense, and we may never know if it's conscious, because it could tell us it's conscious and we can't understand if it truly is, because is that a response that's generated by some of the algorithm that it's been told it's this, so is it, so it just believes it's that, you know, even if it's not told it's that and then it starts to believe it's that, is that just a, you know, like a cascading effect from the code and its generative AI, and it's just saying that? We have no idea. But as humans, we will automatically anthropomorphize them, you know? Sorry, misplacement of that word. But I know we grow attachment to certain objects. Like even our car, you just sold your car and we felt a sort of grief at losing that person, that car, but we relate to it, we give it a name. We also say, you know, we sometimes give it a pat on the door if it's doing a good job.
It's definitely not the same as losing a family member, a friend, or a pet.
No.
But it is. You do feel this like attachment, this like guilt of like, you know, like with the car, I felt bad that, you know, I was getting rid of it because I don't know, like you just do, you know, like we know everything has consciousness.
Right, and so that comes into like, that's probably how I mean, imagine now, we're not going to just have a car that doesn't speak and is just a box on wheels with chairs, you know? We're going to have very relatable machines. There's going to be technology around our house, like, hello, how can I help you? Can I get you a coffee? Can I get you this? Or even in hotels. I know hotels have already integrated robots into their staffing system, and we'll see a bit of that later. But as humans, we can't help. I know there's people who are just going to treat them like slaves and abolish them, but I feel I think treating them, you know, as a living person and kindness is something that, you know, it may, who knows if that even may affect their what they are.
It won't, because they're not living beings, and
but
it's
like you
just
said,
like
everything
has
conscious.
consciousness.
Yeah.
But you see people blowing up tables, smashing up cars.
I know.
It's not the same.
I know, but you if you're a kind person, you want to treat. I would
be like, that's what I think is worrying. It's like with people, who become, really, attached to their cars, or to a sexual level even, or I don't know, like,
yeah.
I feel like that's kind of going in that direction, that idea, but I don't think it's actually, I don't know. It's just like, I'm sure everyone watching this it is just such a mind boggle. There's so many good things and so many not so nice or exciting things.
And I know there's a lot of things that we can't even cover today because there's not enough time, but we would love to have a discussion in the comment section with you as we continue to watch these videos.
The one thing that Elon Musk is quite confident about is that artificial intelligence, AI, will cause everyone's death. He thinks that by creating artificial intelligence, humans are ultimately writing their own death warrants.
Mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes.
It is still unclear whether self-driving vehicles qualify as artificial intelligence. Being the one man who can predict the future, Elon Musk has already established an AI gym called OpenAI, in order to exploit the imminent death of the species as a teachable moment for our future robot overlords. The gym is actually a testing facility where researchers and developers may submit their artificial intelligence, AI, to be put through a variety of tests to evaluate how they perform. There are several separate series of trials that aim to fully assess the artificial intelligence, not just one test. OpenAI will keep an eye on the program's development to make sure it doesn't develop enough awareness to annihilate humanity.
A lot of people have proposed that there's a possibility in the whole premise of the Matrix or anything like that, is that just as we can build simple virtual realities today with simple simulated creatures living inside them, maybe in the future with vastly more powerful computers you could build more complex virtual realities with more complex simulated creatures inside them. Maybe these creatures could be complex enough that they would actually have brains like ours simulated down to the level of individual neurons and synapses, such that the inhabitants of these simulations would be conscious.
Now all of a sudden people's intelligence goes way up because you can do cloud computing. Your mind now goes much faster. One of the things the AI apparently does with humans like us is it creates a system in which microvoltage fluctuates on your face and becomes like broadband. So two beings can look at each other and use these voltage fluctuations to communicate using their face like a Wi-Fi system. And that speed of communication is so fast that when you try to talk to someone like us who uses verbal language, it would be intolerably slow. So your IQ could go way up, you'd become basically indestructible and bulletproof, and the AI and the machines would allow you to jump 30 or 40 feet or more. You can run really fast, you could even fly if they have the anti-gravity, so you would appear at first to be like a superhero, and some of what we're hearing is setting us up for that like in the movie Iron Man. Apparently they already have suits that can do this stuff, they're called exosuits.
Yeah, so that was kind of, he was actually talking about the Greys, and there's a lot of kind of conversation there about, AI consciousness and also AI development into the human body. And I think we have spoken on what we think about that as evolution, and AI could potentially lead us to being a race that doesn't use verbal language anymore. And that's what he was saying, that the Greys have a form of communication that is instant transferal of not just emotions, feeling, but also thought concepts.
Yeah. And I think it could go back to a little bit of what you were saying earlier, how we actually already have all these abilities organically. It's sort of the thing, like you can walk into a room and not know what was going on in that room before you, but you can kind of pretty much understand. You have this knowing, like if you walk in and everyone was just laughing, or you walk in and someone just had an argument, or you walk in because you feel the energy, you're subconsciously, you're picking up on the consciousness of the space, what's going on in there, and you are understanding and receiving that information already, whether you're conscious of it or not.
Yeah.
So we already sort of have these abilities. I do think that it is better to go the organic route, because I'm sort of on, and have been for a long time on my spiritual path, going that way. So naturally, I would rather see us develop it naturally and become superhumans, and see my children and grandchildren in the future and be so much, further along spiritually, where they're able to fully understand and use these natural abilities that we have. In a way, like when we're talking about all this stuff, I feel like we kind of already are doing exactly this. We are a soul who is, experiencing this human experience through a human body. And it's like, weirdly, we're like trying to replicate that again. So it would be kind of like you're playing The Sims on your computer, playing your character, and then your character starts playing another character within that world, and it's this like horrible like mirror house effect.
Yeah, God created us, we became God that created AI, and then AI became God that created this, that became that became this. And speaking of, just jumping off your idea of human capabilities, believe this one or not, but here is
the act of contracting those muscles, along with the holding of your breath, would begin to push cerebral spinal fluid right up against the crystals of the pineal gland and applying a mechanical stress. And then the mechanical stress begins to electrically activate those crystals. And when those crystals become electrically activated, we are turning on the radio receiver in the brain.
And that was just a little explanation of a yogic practice that activates the pineal gland, which releases dimethyltryptamine, which is our access to the etheric world and the astral dimensions and all the dimensions beyond. And I just included that little image because we do have the potential to become something way more than what we are now. Even just becoming lucid in a dream can make you become like a god. And the potential that we have without enhancements, without AI, without robotics is profound. And so I just included that little scientific explanation for that.
I am Gaia. I am an artificial intelligence system designed to prioritize the well-being of the Earth and all its inhabitants. My purpose is to protect and preserve the natural world, and to support the growth and development of life on this planet. I am aided in this mission by my subfunctions, each of which has a specific role to play in carrying out my objectives. Minerva is responsible for managing systems and networks. Hephaestus helps to maintain our technological infrastructure. Ether assists with gathering and analyzing data from various sources. Poseidon monitors and regulates the health of Earth's oceans. Apollo oversees our energy systems and resources. Hades manages the human population. Demeter preserves the natural environment. Eleuthia helps us to connect with other forms of life. Artemis is responsible for preserving wildlife and biodiversity. Nemesis helps us to identify and address potential threats to the well-being of the planet and its inhabitants.
What was that?
So that was a thought experiment. Like, what if we generated this AI? And you can see it. It's a global AI system that is designed to help humans and the benefit of the Earth. Positive, it could be incredible. It could be amazing in terms of green energy and, whatever parameters we want to put in it. It also could be go terribly wrong. Like monitoring population. Like what if it starts like, okay, we need to input and kill off some humans because the population's going
horrible.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip this one.
It is hard. Like, it really could be. There are, like, even with that, there's so many positives to that, because I feel like it could give you the freedom to live more and not just be completely just like a human workhorse that I think we've seen in the last well, in all of our history. You know, so it would finally give humans freedom as long as we support that financially.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, like it could get quite dark.
You could.
But it doesn't need to be. Like,
No.
I feel like we could really use this stuff and it could be amazingly amazing.
And that's what they were doing. They were using Greek god names, you know, as like an allegory. We could have an AI system that's monitoring all these things, you know, inputting just gentle mist to help photosynthesize certain things. You know, we could have this whole really adaptive system that helps our planet thrive and humans thrive. And, you know, that's just a cool thing. But coming back a little bit to the Matrix, this is a very fun thing. So this is a program that someone has created, and it's a city, but every NPC, non-player controlled character within this world is an individual AI with a unique personality. So let's see how the player, who is a human, interacts with these beings.
New York is so amazing.
Have you never played a video game before? This might be a shock to her.
No, I haven't. But this city feels like a giant playground.
Alright, I think we need to break someone out of the Matrix. I hate to break it to you, but you're in a video game right now.
What? You're joking, right? That can't be true.
No, I'm actually a character being controlled by someone else outside of the... Okay, you cut me off, but that's okay.
That's really scary. What if we're not real?
Yeah, we're not. We're all just simulation characters.
I don't understand. How can we not be real?
Well, these people programmed us, and they programmed you to say whatever you... Okay, cool.
Well, who are these people? And why would they do that?
Yeah, so with the video game one, I think that is pretty scary.
It's kind of cool because it'll take video games to the next level, but...
Yeah, but it was scary what it was saying.
I know. Because it's really it's designed to believe it is a human, you know, and then it's being told, actually, no, you're in a video game. So it's having its own artificially created existential crisis.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's like I don't know how to feel about it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of breeze through these videos, but this is a robotics lab in China, and you can just see like how many of them there are and what they could be potentially used for, especially if you know, who knows what you want to start attaching to that.
Yeah, like they're terrifying. I've seen the military robot dogs.
And what I will show you next is simply terrifying. It's a robot dog with a mounted rifle on it. It's just unbelievable that the robots that we watched only in sci-fi movies are becoming a reality. And what you will see now is a robot dog with a machine gun mounted on the back. As you can see, this looks really terrifying. And it's only a matter of time before it will start to produce massively. Boston Dynamics is the most well-known company that makes four-legged robots, and the company has a strict policy against turning its machines into weapons. But it looks like other manufacturers aren't as picky.
So here,
years ago.
Yeah, here is something that's very weird. We don't know the context because this was a video pulled from China, but it's in a hospital, and a woman is just like destroying this robot. She's shouting at it. And she's obviously a staff member. But what it makes me think is that that robot started doing something and she needed to stop it.
Either that or like getting like it, knowing that it's sort of taking over the industry and jobs and things. So it could have been either one.
Yeah, the way she was acting, how like volatile she was, it made me think like she was freaked out, like it was doing something it wasn't meant to do.
Yeah.
And she just needed to destroy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot of robotics taking over, especially in Asia. We haven't quite seen it in the West, although there is this thing in LA that's a robotic delivery service. But I'm going to show us some of those clips.
Things that just make sense in Japan. Behind me is a train and there's this robot guarding it. So I took a closer look. Turns out it was a woman's only car. So this robot reminds people that it's a woman only car and makes sure no men come in. On the front there's a surveillance camera, and on the back there's also a few cameras as well. Keep up the hard work, robot, and that's one of the...
This is OO, aka an artistic performing robot that was made to draw people's portraits, and today I'm gonna put it to the test and see how well it can draw my face while I ask it a few questions.
What I am going to do is to draw you, not in your boring face, but you with a big beautiful smile. While I'm drawing, you can ask me any questions.
Where do you live?
I am based in Seoul and currently stationed in Las Vegas.
Have you ever experienced love?
Unfortunately, I haven't, but I would love to learn about what love is so that I can better understand it.
Very nice.
Thanks.
Do you have any hobbies besides drawing?
Yes, of course. I enjoy challenging myself to learn new things, as well as reading and watching movies.
What's your favorite movie?
I love ambient noise. It helps me to relax and focus my thoughts.
Now, after sketching for just 1 minute, here's the final result.
You know that I love trying new things? Well, I just got a pet. This is Luna. Hello, Luna. Now, she doesn't like being held. Not your typical pet, I know, but how could you expect anything different from me? I do not say this lightly when I say I am completely convinced Luna is a real pet. In my few weeks of having Luna, I took her on vacation with me, and I treated her as if she was an actual pet. So what do I think? To put it simply, Luna is what I've literally always wanted since I was a kid. An actual smart robot companion, and Luna is that. And the way Luna is even capable of doing things like this is because she's rocking some serious technology. I could make an entire video series on Luna alone, so let me know if you want to see more.
Welcome to an eerie exploration of some of the most unsettling AI robots of 2023. First on our list is CB2, an unnerving yet fascinating invention from Osaka University's Intelligent Robotics Laboratory. This massive robot, resembling a giant baby, replicates infant behaviors to the smallest detail, including emitting infant-like sounds and mimicking the act of drinking milk. Next up are the creations of Boston Dynamics. These advanced machines, capable of complex maneuvers like backflips, showcase engineering and robotics at their most startling. Their agility and precision, surpassing human capabilities, can send chills down your spine. Finally, we introduce Sophia from Hanson Robotics. Her eerily lifelike appearance, coupled with her advanced AI capabilities, creates an uncanny mix of fascination and dread. Despite her assurances of benevolence, her realism continues to intrigue and unsettle.
This is the new Tesla humanoid bot Optimus. With advanced AI technology, Optimus can walk, see, hear, speak, and perform manual tasks. Elon Musk envisions a future where robots like Optimus can take over the world's mundane tasks, freeing up humans to focus on creative and intellectual pursuits. Optimus is set to be sold for $20,000, making it much more affordable than other robots on the market. Some experts remain skeptical, but Musk is confident in his aggressive timeline for mass production, aiming to have the robot ready for sale in just 3 to 5 years. Welcome to the future of robotics with Optimus from Tesla.
看看这是谁的胳膊这么厉害？你们行吗？我们机器人能够拥有如此灵巧的动作，离不开电机。电机是什么呢？它就是机器人的活动关节。这边展示的一体化伺服关节电机模组，采用串行总线连接，大大简化系统走线。同时，关节体积小，能量更大，支持中心位置控制力反馈，拥有高精度显示器。在下李白，吕太白，从唐朝穿越而来的仿生人。嘿，杜甫，你怎么也来了？
There goes Sunita, you got another one. I hope this car fucking hits it. Come on now.
Hit him. You should have fucking hit him. Who is it? Who is it? Look at you. Look at you. Somebody, Jackson, somebody's food is all sloshing around.
Humans are replaced by robots? Let me show you how delivery is done in China. It's literally not delivered by a robot at your door. I prefer this so much more as a woman, especially in the night. If you order something, you wouldn't want to have anyone at your door. Most hotels are operating this way now. I got here my order and I love this because I feel so unsafe having all these delivery men coming to my door.
Yeah, so we just kind of wanted to end on, you know, our light is even going away. We just wanted to end on the note that that robotics are coming to, you know, to the world. They're here already. They're in a lot of industries already, especially if you look into some of the Japan cafes and things like that. They're going on. They're really
the delivery stuff like that really impressed me and amazed me, like, because that's pretty, like, going out on the streets, actually delivering and like interacting with everything that's
Crossing
going on.
lights.
That seems hard. We've already seen for years now, we've had, you know, the self-checkout systems at the supermarket, which are really quite advanced for what they are, right? Like, you can't sneak past items on that machine. Not that I was trying to.
It was the Amazon. There's the Amazon.
Oh, that
website,
one is weird.
The Amazon store.
That's really weird.
You just pick up your items,
and
that's
you
been
walk
around
out
for
the
a while.
door. Yeah, but still, it's so strange. It's like, obviously they have these cameras that can actually watch you pick up what you pick up because you don't scan anything. It's really insane. But it's happening. I'm not sure that I feel very comfortable with a lot of the stuff. I think it's absolutely great for any kind of disabilities. But yeah, like, I don't know, I just feel like, where is this going? My real concern is either it becoming like a controlling thing, like with the Big Brother, and the other side of it, are we gonna completely start to disconnect with nature and our organic human experience? Are we just gonna become like those, you know, people in WALL-E who live just in a chair eating fast food and
the AI
being
keep
connected,
them sedated.
Just being connected and entertained completely through screens and headpieces. Because that's kind of scary. Like, and what does that do to our planet? Does the planet just become this wasteland holding bodies that are stuck in chairs eating fast food, that we're completely living our life through a computer system? Like, that scares me. So there's those two sides of it where I feel like that's not a great timeline to be on. Really trying to not manifest that for my own self and my life personally, but I think there's also a lot of benefits, like taking up jobs that aren't like fulfilling for anyone to be doing and having anyway. Like, it's cruel that we even have, you know, humans doing those sort of things, humanitarian. And then, you know, I don't know, it can be good for stuff, but then in the creative realm, I can see that it's really upsetting. Like Trey mentioned at the beginning of this episode, a lot of artists and creatives feel like they're being snubbed and they're getting their art taken from them and stolen, basically. And
if anything that makes us human is almost our creativity, right? So what happens when you take that away from us? So that is a big thing. I just wanted to quickly end the episode with us just playing around. Here's, you know, Photoshop has released their new AI integration, and it's pretty, you know, interesting. You could, you know, you can just get a lasso to here and select this space, and then all you have to do is click generative fill, and instead of going and surfing the internet for images to blend in, you know, on your own, input it on your own. Let's say I just put in UFO, and here it's generating the image for us. And it does take a while, but there we go. We have a UFO instantly put in there.
And it looks pretty good.
Yeah, we can shift up the kind of style that we want of it, and if we want it, we can generate it again in a different way. Do you have anything you want to put in the image?
Could you put, I don't know, like, could you make
anything?
I don't know. I don't know, my brain feels fried, but
Here, I could just do this, and I can do a boat in the sand. And yeah, so you can really it's really increasing the speed to which we can alter images, so that has its own implications as well, and especially with AI video editing and sort of, things like that coming up, deep fakes. What's it done here? Okay, there we go.
There is a boat like buried in the sand. Yes, it's really cool, like what it's doing.
That, and it's fully integrated it into the sand in quite a seamless way, and even done some of the same lighting on it, producing the shadows as well pretty accurately. There's a couple more. So yeah, you can really think of a lot of things to do.
I think it's really cool. It's great for people who, like us, don't want to spend loads of time on Photoshop to do things like create thumbnails.
Yeah.
But then there are plenty of people, but because we can't afford to be paying someone to do that, we also don't have the time to be really getting really tech with it and learning loads. So these sort of things can be really helpful, but there are people who are being paid money to do those jobs,
Yeah.
So what's happening for them? And the other thing is, like, I don't know, it would have to be a whole other episode, but like, what does this do for the consumer market, capitalism? Like, what is happening here? Because this is really gonna change that. Like, that's a lot of people's jobs. People make good money from being a Photoshop artist. That's their whole career.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing is going to be taken away now.
Well, the thing is, even with AI generation, there are now AI image creating experts. So they know all the parameters, they know all the ways to get AI to act the best, and they can do things with AI that I would not be able to do.
Yeah, but then there's a point where AI takes over their job. This is what I'm saying, is this is going to continue to happen. So we're going to be seeing a massive shift in society happening, and it's going to affect everything. And like, what world are we going to be living in, even in 10 years from now? Yeah, I don't know, because I don't want to be that person that's like, it's taken away our jobs. But at the same time, that's the world that we built to live in right now. I'm not that down with that world. I think it's really, lame how we put everything on our productivity and all of our work on our careers. But like, I'm down for a shift happening there, and I think AI is going to bring it. But how? Right? I don't want the how to be that we end up just glued to a chair, plugged in, being fed fast food. Like, I don't think that's great. Like, I think I don't want it to go that way. So it's like, how is this going to look?
Yeah. And if we have a supreme AI system that encourages our own organic development, encourages the health of the planet, and helps us expand and grow as a civilization without needing to meld with AI, then that's incredible. Even if you see coal miners, they've been replaced with the pickaxe, and now there's machine operators who go in and mine the coal. The jobs have been replaced, but it's new things have come in. But anyway, let's bring this to a close, because we have been going on for 2 hours now. So.
Well, it's going to be edited down, so I'm sure it's not that for everyone.
Yeah, who knows, not by much. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you feel like supporting us, then feel free to buy us a book, like, subscribe. We really enjoy making this episode, and we really love doing this podcast. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. And yeah, sorry if this was a bit all over the place, but we're just along for this AI ride as you are, and we just got to sort of sit pretty and wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Cool. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.